everybody, and welcome back again. My name is adcs, and today, before I start today's episode, make sure to check out Surrender at 20. This is where I get all my gaming information and everything I need to know about the good old game of League of Legends. So make sure to check it out. The website is www.surrenderat20.net. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the... Well, it's not actually welcome back, actually. It's welcome to the PBE Roundup. This is actually the show that's taking over from the gaming news, because the gaming news was just all about one game. But the PBE Roundup is only about the good old League of Legends and everything that we get to play on the PBE. So, now, one thing I'm going to go over all of the preseason stuff. So, in today's episode, we are going to be covering the Marksman changes. Now, that being said, I will not be covering the nitty-gritty things like mana changes and stuff like that. I will only be covering information like new abilities, or if an ability has changed in a certain way that needs to be talked about. That is the only time I'm going to talk about them. Now, over the course of the next week, I will be talking about all of the other preseason stuff in different videos that will be released each day of the week. So that should be all grand and cool. Now, welcome guys back to the change of the YouTube channel. Yeah, that's right. I've decided to redo a lot of the stuff, and a lot of the assets are being completely changed. I've been working on this for a little bit now, for like 2 weeks. Now, in today's video, I will not be using the updated assets, because I actually don't think they are fully ready. But there are a few assets that I think are completely done, and that they will be the ones that I will be using in these videos of the next few days. And as for the new change, should be coming around sometime December, I'm hoping, and I'm hoping to get them all in before the preseason, the season starts of Season 6. In January, they should be all done and ready. Enough talking about all that crap. Let's actually talk about the changes of the League of the Legends. So, first things first, let's talk about Ashe. So, Ashe has had a bit of a change to her, mainly due to, obviously the mana and damage per level. All that stupid stuff's been changed. If you guys want to get all the nitty-gritty stuff, make sure to check out Surrender 20 or the patch notes whenever they go live, because I'm recording this nearly a week before the patch notes go up. So, Ashe has had a few changes to her, mainly because of the fact that her passive no longer deals crits. So, as you guys should know, the current Ashe, every single auto attack to anyone who has the passive Frost Shot on them, then she will be dealing critical damage to them. This is actually mainly changed because of the fact one of the keystone masteries they've added is where if you get a crit, you get so much health back, and for Ashe, that'll be broken as fuck, because Ashe crits every auto, so yeah, a little bit OP. So now a passive as a base slow been reduced by 10%, which is really, really big amount. As for the damaging portion, it now does bonus damage rather than bonus damage based on critical strike, which is really nice, but it still scales on critical strike. So the more crit you have, the more damage this bonus damage will do, which is still really strong, but it means that the Keystone Mastery is not going to be completely broken on her, which is actually a really nice change. I do like this, because I actually think the Ashe in the current state is very fucking strong. I would say that she's stronger than most AD carries, because unlike most of them, she doesn't rely on luck and the whole idea that, am I going to get a crit or not? She will get a crit. So I'm actually quite happy with this change. So now, because Ashe now deals critical strike like normal, rather than doing just base damage, she now deals 1 total damage, and is slow is applied with double the effectiveness if she gets a crit. So 25 is the maximum slow from her passive. If she's able to get a crit, that will go up to 50% slow, which is really fucking strong. So I can see why they nerfed the base slow on it, because if they added this change with the old one, she could get up to 70% slow, which would be very fucking strong. Too strong, in fact. So it's a nice change, and I actually do like this, but it is definitely going to hurt Ashe very, very smallly. The next thing is Q. Q has had a bit of a change, not by much, but a little bit. And the fact is, Q can no longer be casted if she is lower than 5 stacks. So before, you could activate it at 1, 2, 3, or 4 stacks, and the only thing you would get was attack speed. And it wouldn't scale up, you wouldn't get more attack speed for more stacks, it would just give you base attack speed, which was actually really nice, and I actually really liked that, especially for tower pushing. It really fucking helped. But now that's gone, and because the stacks don't work on towers, the 5 stack passive of it, it means she can no longer use this ability at all for pushing towers, which again is going to hurt her very smallly, but it's still a nice change. However, to go over that change, the cooldown of this ability has gone down from 18 seconds to absolutely fucking nothing. That's right, the cooldown is now at 0, which actually means as long as she can keep the 5 stacks, she could have her Q on forever, which is really fucking strong. And because of this change, the slow addition that it did, it used to give you 20% additional slow, that has now been removed to make sure this ability is not overpowered as arse, which is actually really, really nice. So I actually really like this change to her Q. It means that she's going to be very strong within team fights, and even though attacks are not going to be based as crits anymore, it still is going to be making her very fucking strong, and I definitely think she will be remaining as one of the strongest AD carries in the game. Maybe even being stronger than everyone, because other than Graves, which I'll talk about a bit later on. The next thing is a W. A W now counts as a critical strike if she hits them with a, she hits them with a W now. It will apply the Frost Shot critical slow on them, which is the 50% at max rank. So it's a bit nice. It allows you to get that slows off. So that's overall for Ashe. It's not that bad, to be fully honest. I'm actually quite happy with those changes. The next thing is Draven. So Draven has a very small thing. It's more just a nitty grit. His attack frame has been improved by 30%, and his missile speed has been reduced by 100 from 17,000 to 16,000. So it's not much of a change. It's just the quality of life change for Draven. So it's nothing to really talk about, because it's not going to really help him too much. It's just going to make him feel a bit smoother. Adriel is the next AD carry that has received a very interesting change, that it kind of feels a bit more of a nerf than anything, but overall it shouldn't change him, because it's just bumping of its cooldown if he misses his Q. So the change is that when Adriel hits his Q, he now gets the cooldown reduction by 1.5 instead of 1 second. However, his cooldown of the ability itself has been increased by 0.5 seconds, which actually means that if you miss your Q is now going to be on a longer cooldown, unless if you hit them, which is going to be on a shorter cooldown, which is actually quite nice. I do like that change, but I don't think it's going to be a change to really make an impact for Adriel, but oh well. And the next thing is that his E has been increased in cooldown by 2 seconds at max rank, which is not much of a change, to be fully honest. So I don't think it's going to be affecting Adriel at all, to be fully honest. The next thing is Jinx. Oh boy, Jinx. Jinx has received, in my opinion, a huge nerf. Now, let's talk about the buff here for a second. Passive, Get Excited, duration has been decreased. However, she can now chain together and stack the passive. Now, the passive gets her attack speed by 15% per stack. Her movement speed does not stack, but this 15% per stack is going to be fucking mental if she can get a lot of kills. Which actually means if she can get 2 kills, that's 30% attack speed. She gets 4 kills, that's 60% attack speed. Bonus. And if she gets a pentakill, for example, well, do I really need to start talking about that? That's 75% extra attack speed. Which is not going to be very useful because the enemies are all dead. But still, 75 bonus. That is fucking mental. Now, the reason why they did this, it comes down to a Q. So a rocket launcher now gives a minus 15% attack speed. So unless if she gets a kill in a team fight, this is going to mean Jinx is going to be a lot fucking weaker in terms of overall power. Now this actually really affects her early game, because at the moment her early game is really bad. It's not that strong at all, not compared to what it used to be. Yes, it's not as weak as others, but it is a lot. It's not as weak as others, but it's still nowhere near as strong as it used to be, which is kind of good because Jinx is a very snowbally champion. So this change does make her a lot less snowball, but I think it hurts her just a little bit too much. But we're going to wait and see when the update comes. Okay, so the next change is to the wonderful girl of jumping, Calista. So it's not much of a change, to be fully honest. So, as always, passive has been slightly changed. Passive being the jumping thing, so it still scales off boots. That's not changed. However, the speed that she jumps now only scales with attack speed, which is actually really fucking good when you think about it. Which means the more attack speed you have, the quicker you can jump, which is really good in my opinion for this change. But the biggest downfall of this is that if she gets any type of slow, so a Nasus W for example, will completely destroy Calista, because with slows it reduces her jump speed. So the more slows the enemy team can get onto her, the less she's going to be able to jump, which obviously is going to really impact her, and I think it's going to be a very devastating nerf in that regards. But the fact that she can actually jump a little bit quicker than what she currently is still very fucking nice. Okay, so the next little bit of a change, it's not much of a change to be fully honest with you, and that is to Lucien. Lucien has had a very small change to his ultimate, being that his ultimate no longer scales off attack speed. However, each rank now gives him 20, 25, and 30 bullets to work with. This change is really good because, to be honest, a lot of the time you don't build a lot of attack speed on on Lucien, sorry. You don't build too much on him. You build some, of course. You build some on all AD carries. But Lucien, to me, feels like an AD carry that doesn't need it as much. He's someone that relies a little bit more on cooldown, so he can spam off his Q and knees a bit more. So this is actually a really nice change, that he no longer needs to definitely get attack speed to make sure his ultimate's going to do something, because it already does basically nothing. So this is a quite nice little buff to Lucien in my opinion. Now with some of the new items like Essence Reaver, which I'll talk about in a later video, this is going to be very fucking decent for Lucien and how well he's going to perform. The next wee little change is to Sivir. So Sivir's W's cooldown has been increased by 2 seconds at later. It's actually, no, it's, sorry, I'm getting this wrong. It's increased by 1 second at last rank. However, the cooldown begins on the spell cast rather than when the last W is thrown out, which is really fucking good. It means that she's able to use her W a lot more frequently, which is really nice. However, the attack speed buff's duration has gone down to 4 seconds from 6, so this is a bit of a Nice little change to Sivir, but it's not going to be too much impactful. It's not really much of a nerf or a buff, to be fully honest. The next change is to Tristana. So you guys remember the whole big deal with Tristana. She wasn't used, so they kept buffing her, changed in a Q, E to work with each other, so you get cooldowns using your E and your Qs. Well, that's all been reverted. Yeah. So, a Q now, cooldown has been decreased, which is really fucking nice. It now goes down to 16 seconds at max rank rather than being at 20 from all ranks. The cooldown no longer reduces the E's cooldown while active, and attacking the E no longer reduces the cooldown of your Q. Here, rocket jump damage has been increased by a huge amount. At later ranks, it's now at 260 from 180, which is really fucking good. However, it no longer deals increased damage per E stack, which is a little bit of a nerf. Now, a cooldown has a new way of being reset. So if she hits on someone who has a max... I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Cooldown is now reset on the max stack of an E explodes. Which means if she can get an E stack onto a tower, she could theoretically jump in and then just wait for that to blow up and then jump out. Which is a bit of a nice little change in my opinion. Obviously she needs to attack it to make sure it gets to the final stack. Because E now has been changed that her E will now it will now detonate instantly as soon as it reaches max stacks, which is 4. So she can no longer get to 4, give it a few seconds and it explodes. It will now explode as straight away, which is a really nice change in my opinion. It should buff her E a little bit, give her a bit more power. Also, now all of Tristana's abilities add E stacks. So if she uses a W on someone, it's going to add an E stack. She ultimates someone, it's going to add an E stack. If they already have the E on them, of course. And the missile speed of her E has been increased to 24,000 from 18,000, which is a very nice change in my opinion. It should give Tristana a nice little bit more of a stronger dueling potential. But as for tower pushing, it should just give her a wee little bit of a nerf, but we're going to wait and see. So the next change is to Twitch. Twitch has had a it's not very big, it's just a small minor quality of life change to make sure he's good with these other AD carries. So his Q now has a new effect. When an enemy champion dies that are affected by his passive Deadly Venom, his cooldown of his Q is completely reset, which is fucking amazing. The next thing is a quality of life buff. When entering stealth, now cancels Twitch's auto attack order, meaning this should be a little bit of a buff. So before, if you attack someone as you just gone into your Q, because the auto attack's already gone off, you will now straight away get out of your Q, which is not that good, and fuck, you're going to die. This should now give him an option to actually get away, because he won't be revealed by his Q fucking getting disabled because he's already auto attacked, which is a bit of a shitty thing. And also the next thing is his ultimate's duration has been reduced by 2 seconds, and the mana cost has been reduced to 100 from all ranks, which is actually 50 at later game, and the cooldown has been reduced to 90 at all ranks from 100 for at max rank it was previously. So it's just mainly just quality of life buffs to Twitch, so it should theoretically give him a little bit more of a placement in the game. Next up is Urgot. So Urgot, he did actually have a passive which would reduce the enemy size, but they removed it, and they only gave him a little buff kind of to his ultimate. His ultimate no longer grants him armor and magic resist anymore. However, he now gains 30, 40 or 50% reduced damage for 5 seconds at the beginning of this channel, which is a very nice little change to him, so it should allow him to use his ultimate and actually feel safe rather than going to die as he's channeling, and when he's done channeling, he's got some armor and magic resist, and anyone who has armor or magic pen are going to rape his ass. Which is not that great, but this little change should now give him a wee little bit of a power, but not much, because to be fully honest, his ultimate is useless in the AD carry position anyway. Next up is Varus. Varus is just had a little bit of a quality of life change. His ultimate's damage has been decreased by 100 at later ranks, which is really fucking massive. I know this is a major nerf in terms of his ultimate's power. However, rotated enemies now gain 3 stacks of his W's bright over the duration of the route, which is actually really nice. And on the little display tag, it now displays max spread range to Varus and the enemies it could hit, which allows him to basically set up his ultimate a lot easier now. So even though he's reduced a lot of damage off of it by 100, this should still give him a lot of interesting power for him to use, basically. And the final AD carry that has received very small nerfs, well, very small changes, before we get onto the bigger changes of the 6 main AD carries, which you've probably seen all over the internet. And the final one is Vayne. So Vayne has had a very, very good nerf, in my opinion, because Vayne has always been a very, very high risk, high reward champion. And even someone that, even if you're behind, she could come back so fucking hard if you know how to play her. So this should now take that away from her as easily. So her W now does a base damage has now been removed off her W, which is really nice in my opinion. This should allow her to be a bit weaker against non-tanks. However, against tanks, the maximum health damage has been increased up to 12% from 8%. So this should now allow her to basically destroy tanks a little bit quicker, but squishies a little bit slower. And she now has a minimum damage she can deal, which at later ranks is 120, which is a lot less than what she previously could, which is great in my opinion. I'm so happy for this change, because Vayne has always been a pain in my fucking ass, just because of the fact that doesn't matter how hard you shut her down, she could still come back so hard because of how strong she gets, because of his stupid bloody W's passive. But yeah, that's the changes, that very slight changes that affected a lot of the lesser AD carries.